ใช่ทีif they ask question you can see
Hello. All right, we're going to get started in just a few minutes here. And the topic today is a very big one. Harness the power of habit. How to create new habits. I talked about this a lot in the clinic. Talk about it with new patients and talk about it with anybody who has any type of problem that they're dealing with, because oftentimes symptoms are the result of poor habits. So we not only can come in and intervene with some type of treatment, care plan, protocol, but introducing new habits and how we establish those is a very important process of how to feel better. Not only to feel better taking care of the symptoms, but new habits, and a habit is something that you then do repeatedly. That is something that if you're doing that consistently over time can net you positive benefits, not right now, but also for the future and down the road. So the information that I'm going to go over today, harness the power of habit. This is information that's taken from the research of, literally just blinking, 1 second. It's on my final slide here. I'll give you the website for all of his research, in addition to a tool that he has created. Spencer Greenberg. He's a mathematician. All of the stuff that we're going to talk about today has been studied by him and his department, and he's compiled it onto a fantastic website. So today is just the overall tips of what you could do to introduce new habits to your life, and then there will be tools and resources at the end of this. So let's get right to it. How to harness the power of habit. And more importantly, this talk is really just introducing concepts of how to start new habits. If there's anything that you've been trying to start, or you've been, if it's to exercise, or if it's a diet, or if it's reading a book or learning a language, all of this requires a consistent effort over time. Consistent conscious effort over time before it then becomes a habit. A habit is something that you do unconsciously. It's like when you get in the car, putting on the seatbelt without thinking about it. At the end of the night, brushing your teeth without thinking about it. These are habits that were first not as easy to do. When you were a kid, your parents had to remind you about brushing your teeth all the time before it did become a habit. So if you can figure out how to harness the maximum tools for introducing new habits, then you are set. Because like I said, doing a good habit over time not only helps you immediately, but it will help you down the road to prevent things from coming up. So when we get into and talk about habit, one of the first and foremost things when you are introducing or want to have a new habit into your life, I'll use exercise here and there, just because a lot of people, they want to either get more fit or lose weight or whatever the case is. And the reality is that there's no fad diet or fad exercise. All it is discipline, consistent behavior over time that nets positive results. So that is introducing a new habit and doing it consistently until it becomes automatic. So if you are trying to create a new habit, the first and foremost, the greatest indicator about the success of creating a new habit is how motivated are you to want to see the change of that habit coming. So in the beginning, you have to be excited about it. It has to be something that can help you to get motivated. Now, motivation doesn't always come. Some days you're going to feel low, some days you're going to feel tired, but that's where we start to take the place of not motivation, but discipline. But first, any new habit must be attached to an outcome that you really want to happen. And it can't be like, oh, I want to get rich. Why? Why do you want to have more money? Do you want the freedom of travel? Do you want the freedom of the security for your family? And the same thing for getting fit. Do you want to be able to exercise without getting winded? Do you want to get to a certain weight to boost your self-esteem. You have to really dig into the reason you want to establish this habit. And once you identify that, and it's something that you can get excited about and motivate yourself from the beginning, that is the greatest indicator that Spencer Greenberg saw in his research leading up to. So it's a starting point. That's it. And I'm not saying that if you pick something that is going to be easily motivated in the beginning, that's going to carry you throughout all the way to the end, but that's why we have these other resources, steps that can help you to achieve your habit. So first, pick something you're super excited about. Now, let's start with the first step. The first thing you want to do, so let's go back to the exercise. If you say, okay, I want to exercise consistently every week, maybe 3 to 4 times. So if that's your habit and you're super excited about getting more fit, you're motivated, you want to do it, the first thing you have to do is it's called habit reflection, looking back at a time when you successfully created a new habit. And this is just something you can journal about, you can record a little voice note, but really think about, okay, what worked? What did you do at that time? What helped you to establish that habit? And write the reflection and then just make a note. If it was something like, well, I did it at the same time every day, and these are things we're going to get into that you can also then help you to successfully establish a new habit. But habit reflection is also one of the greatest indicators for establishing a new habit. And that's the thing with all of these steps I'm going to go through. They were studied extensively looking at their effectiveness. And a lot of times it almost seemed counterintuitive, but when we really think about it, it makes sense that the simplest things, the simplest steps are the ones that had the most profound effects on establishing a new habit. So with this habit reflection, really dig into something that you have created a new habit with in the past, what worked, and list those things out. If you can't remember a new habit that you created, or you can't remember what worked, that's okay. We're going to go through 5 different steps, and the goal is to use hopefully as many of these as you can to help stack those on top of each other. What that then will do is help to ensure that you're establishing a new habit. Habit reflection, step 1. Let's get into step 2. Now, step 2 is more about your environment. And this is an acronym that goes with habit. We're looking at triggers. And these aren't negative triggers like triggering you into a negative emotion, but what are the positive triggers in your life that you can utilize to help establish a new habit? So if we look at the HABIT, H stands for humans. The people you surround yourself. If it's a coworker, your significant other, if it's a group of friends, are these people in your life people that will help you to establish that new habit? Can they be either an accountability buddy, or when you see these people, do they help you to think about, yes, I want to create this new habit. I want to consistently be reminded. A good example for exercise, let's say your friends have all decided to sign up for High Rocks or a marathon. Every time you see those friends, that's going to be a reminder. If you see their IG and they're all exercising, that can be a reminder. The people that you surround yourself with. Letter A stands for activity. Specific activities that remind you of your new habit. So this can be a trigger. If you are, you get on a bicycle, and as soon as you're commuting to work, every single day you commute to work and you go this specific route. You're walking and maybe you start to feel a little winded. That can be a trigger to establish a new habit towards your exercise. So an activity. B is bearing. What is in your external environment that may trigger you towards reminding you of that habit? Again, this can be, I like to use the things that you're doing every single day. If it's a commute to work, if it's sitting at your office, if you're sitting in your desk at work and you look out the window and you see some people running around a track. That could be the environment, the external environment that triggers you towards that habit. Now, obviously, the example that I'm using is for exercise is very specific. You really want to try and figure out what your bearings are, or the environment is related to the habit that you want to instill. Internal state, how you are feeling, can be a tremendous trigger towards creating a new habit. What I mean by that is, if in the morning you wake up and you start to feel your joints are a little sore and you're feeling tired and lethargic, this is a time of reflection. You can think, okay, I'm not feeling great. I know that if I move a little bit more, I will eventually start to feel better. This can be a trigger for habit formation. And then lastly, timing. The time of the day that acts as a reminder. So this is one of the things that I love to do as far as creating a new habit, is to link it to either the beginning or the end or the middle. So it's right when I wake up, lunchtime, or right before I go to bed. The timing of the day can be something that is very consistent. You're doing the same thing over and over, and that can end up being a trigger for you. Again, a trigger is a positive trigger of your habit formation or creation or reminder. And that brings us down to our third step that goes perfectly in line with triggers. What you want to do is, if you can identify a few triggers, that then leads you to, and this seems so simple. Again, I'm going to remind you, the simplest things in the research around habit formation is often the stuff that was most effective. Sticky notes. Write yourself a little note. Buy a 3M little 1-inch square Post-it note and write whatever that habit is. Gym. And then what I do is stick it in the medicine cabinets right next to my toothbrush. So every time I open that toothbrush, I see that, and it's a trigger, it's a reminder for the habit, and then I'll schedule that time out to get into the gym. If it is your alarm clock, a great place to do it is just on the face of your phone. Put a little sticky note, so every time you wake, you look at your phone, or before you go to bed or something, you can even put a digital sticky note. Digital sticky notes are fantastic, especially at your workplace. So when you open up your desktop and there's a sticky note that says gym, and you can schedule a time. So you have to think about creating a new habit. What all of these things do is that they are increasing your conscious awareness of the habit, which then must be followed up by an action. The action is only motivated if it's linked to something that you're excited about getting, or that you really want to happen. You really want that outcome. That's why picking the right habit is so important. And then identifying these ways that you can have these positive reminders that will then help you to motivate you into action. So sticky notes are fantastic. And it's a very easy, you can have sticky notes all over your house. You can put them in your bag, any place that you're going to be able to see that reminder of something you have to do. Step 4 is chunking it down. So this is a really important one, and this, I'll use my example for, again, going back to exercise. I wanted to start to go into the gym more consistently. The problem is, it's like going to the gym, it can be daunting, it takes a while to get there. There are all of these barriers of entry. You got to sign up for a gym membership, you got to get to the gym, you got to know the program that you're doing, yada, yada, yada. So what I did is I chunked it down. I made a workout that I knew I was going to be able to do, even if I only had 15-20 minutes, and that was 100 push-ups, 100 reverse rows, and 100 body weight squats. And I just cycled through them. Let's say I do sets of 10 or 20, and I would just repeat those until I got through to the end of the workout. So you're breaking down the habit. If the habit is exercise, you don't necessarily have to go to the gym and do a 2-hour lifting session or go for a huge run, but you're doing something that no matter how much time you have, you do that. You do that exercise. And what happens is we see success builds on success. You get a little bit of momentum. So let's say my goal is to go to the gym 4 days a week. 2 of those days in that week, I did that shorter, broken down version of the goal, of the habit that I want to create. But the other 2 days, I actually went into the gym and I had a more robust workout. And in fact, what this can also do is it helps to break in your body to that new habit. For instance, if I pick to go to the gym, that's my habit, and I go 4 times in that week and I'm working out super hard, I'm going to be stiff, my muscles are going to be sore. It's going to be something that's another barrier of entry. My soreness, my delayed onset muscle soreness is something that is going to be creating another barrier for me to get in there and be consistent with that workout. So breaking it down into mini versions is an excellent way to establish timing when you want to do it. Like if it's every day at lunch, I do that 100, 100, 100. And then also consistency. And honestly, sometimes the best thing you can do for a habit is to just purely commit to, okay, I'm going to do this broken, chunked down version of this habit consistently for 2 weeks, something like this, before you step into that next realm. And that could be something with even diet. Let's say you want to introduce a healthy eating habits. And it doesn't, don't want to say diet because that might be food restriction, cutting things out, but let's say you want to choose to eat less processed food and eventually move towards more whole foods and not so much processed foods with sugar. So what you can do is just add in one piece. Instead of taking out, add something in. I'm going to add in a piece of fruit with every single meal. So it's a little thing, but you can see what happens is that it just starts to change your mindset and perception about what is possible with habit formation. I'm literally making a conscious decision to add in a healthy piece of fruit during a meal. And if I start doing that over time, success builds on success. You'll be motivated to add other things in. Because what we're talking about with habit formation is the long-term goal. You might not be able to achieve the habit in 6 months, or it may take time, but you have to be realistic. And let's say if it's exercise, or if it's diet, or if it's learning a language or a new instrument, the consistency over time, give yourself plenty of time to see positive effects of that. And I like to think about it in 6 month chunks. If I can be consistent more days than not over 6 months, guaranteed I will see a positive change, even if it is this chunked down version of your habit. So step 4 is huge. Make it manageable, make it easy, make it so easy that no matter how much time or how little motivation you have, you're able to do this exercise. Oh, I got 2 step 4s. Step 4 here, step 4 here. Tell a friend. So this is something where it starts to get real. All of this stuff is thinking internally and what I want to do and how I want to do it and what's going to be the best case. But as soon as you pick somebody who you know is going to help you to be accountable, somebody that wants to celebrate your wins, if it's a good friend, if it's your chiropractor, tell me. If you need somebody who's going to want to help you, hold you accountable, I'm happy to do that. Because I do the same thing. I look to my peers and I look to my support group when I'm trying to establish a habit. And tell a person that you can trust with accountability, who may be able to just give you a friendly reminder. And tell somebody too that maybe you have seen succeed in certain goals or certain creating new habits. Because then you know that that person, without a doubt, has faced certain challenges and they may be able to help you through those times where you're not succeeding as well as you should. So this is an excellent one. Accountability buddy. Very effective. Again, it seems almost too easy, but as soon as you articulate, you verbalize your intentions to that person, it makes it real. It comes out of you, it goes into the universe, it goes directly to that person, and now there is something concrete, a context for which you to springboard off of. And especially if you've already done these work of like doing something that you're highly excited about and you're motivated, if you've taken a look at what you've done in the past that's been able to work, if you're looking at the environment, you started to make those sticky notes, and then you tell this person, that just adds on to the possible success of creating this new habit. The 5th one, as far as a step or a tip, it's actually the 6th one because I didn't change that, is make a list. This could be, again, this is something that takes all that theoretical thought process and puts it down into something tangible. You can put it, I love putting lists on my notes on my phone. You can write a physical one in a journal. You can type it into a Google Doc, whatever you want, something that you can repeatedly reference. Now this list, you want to write an exhaustive list of all the positive things that will come to pass once your habit is established. And really think about it. Try to shoot for something ridiculous, like 100 positive things, and rack your brain. Like the first 20, 30 are going to be pretty easy. For instance, if it's about going to the gym, you could be like, well, I will be in shape, I'll be able to exercise with my kids or my partner, I'll hopefully potentially look better if that's something, if you're driven by aesthetic. So make a list, an exhaustive list. Now the purpose of this list is to also help with that motivation. So the fifth or sixth step here, the make a list, does reflect back on that establishing a habit that you're excited about. So in those times where you're feeling like, well, this just isn't really something I can achieve or I want to achieve, you reference back to this list. And as you do that, this is the main important thing. All of these tools that we're talking about is how do we take what our conscious awareness into something that becomes automatic. So much so that, for instance, with the gym analogy, am I going to the gym? If now I know for today at lunch, I go to the gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays and midday. If I miss it, I feel like something is wrong. So it's just become something that you automatically do. The hardest part about establishing any habit is taking that first step. And everything that we talked about on this list is designed to reduce those barriers of entry, to give you a couple tools that can set up the framework and set up you for success. Again, remember, success breeds success. Positive feedback loops. If you think about last time you did something great, like if you ate a good meal or you went for a workout or you had a really great time with your family, that good feeling almost makes you want to do more good things. So keep that going. Keep that positive feedback loop, that positive momentum going with these little tiny things built up over time. And that brings me to the next thing. I know that anytime you're trying to establish a new habit, obviously you can veer off into these directions that are less than desirable. You can miss a day. You can, you miss a week, whatever the case is. So an important part about creating new habits is to understand life and human nature and to go easy on yourself. If you miss a day, or even if you miss a week, you have to know that you have not sabotaged your new habit. You can literally start again as soon as you feel like you've missed or you don't want to do it, or the next day. But the paramount component of this is always coming back to it. Remember, we're looking at consistency over time. The goal is to get somewhere in the long term. So let's say if you're trying to achieve a goal that's going to take a year, missing 1 or 2 days or even a week, it doesn't mean that you're a failure for missing those. In reality, it's like you're consciously thinking of, oh man, I missed today, I feel kind of bad or down on myself, what do I do? I'm not going to succeed. That means you're consciously aware of this habit. And you can effectively then take action right then. As soon as you're like, oh man, I feel like I'm down, I haven't been doing, then right then do your chunk down version of the habit. Or put it on the books the next day. Write it in your calendar to increase your chances and your likelihood of performing that task. So these are from the research that Spencer Greenberg has done, and they are the top 5 to 6. The first one, which is about picking a habit that is motivated, that motivates yourself, is not really a step, it's just something that's more practical. You want to be practical. If your goal is to lose 100 pounds in 6 months, it's not likely to do that. So you want to pick a habit that first and foremost is attainable and something that you really want to do, and then give yourself a realistic timeline. Then, if you go through and you do the work with these steps, there's no way that it won't happen. Anything that you do, and this is a thing that I always think about a lot, and think about how much time and dedication you put into work. You go to work every single day. maybe, or maybe not every single day, but every time you go to work, you're putting in a significant amount of time. You're putting in your own human resources, obviously in exchange for a paycheck, and hopefully it's something that you feel good about doing, and like you're contributing to something bigger. But a lot of times we put so much time and effort into our job, which then depletes us of our own internal resources to do anything that takes care of ourselves. So what we start to see when we see people prioritize habits, healthy habits, and create this positive feedback loop, it starts to reflect in all things that they do. It reflects in your personal relationships because it reflects on your relationship with yourself. It reflects on your productivity with work because it also is positively impacting the cycles throughout your day, leading into those circadian rhythms. If it's positive habits around exercise, diet, or sleep, that helps to reboot your system, keep you focused and energized throughout the day. The same thing can be said about having a new habit about learning an instrument. If learning an instrument is something that has always excited you, guaranteed the better you get at that instrument, which takes a long time, is going to help you feel better in all these different areas of your life. So I'm going to go back through these steps. First and foremost, you must have a habit that is going to motivate you, something that is a desirable outcome, something you really want to happen that you can see down the road. Habit reflection. Look at what you've done in the past. Make a note about what worked. Look at the triggers. What can you use as positive triggers? The humans around you, certain activities that may remind you of your habit. Bearing, what are the surroundings in your external environment, your internal state, how you're feeling, and then timing of the day. These triggers can help be positive reminders about establishing a new habit. And then once you figure out these triggers, write yourself a note. Anywhere associated with the trigger, place a sticky note. Constant reminders throughout the day increase conscious awareness of the potential new habit. Chunk it down. Make it easy. Do a little mini version of your habit, so regardless of the time or the ability to do it, you can do it, even in those times where you feel a little low. Tell a friend, get an accountability buddy. If it's your partner, your significant other, your kids, your siblings, your parents, your coworkers, someone you know can trust that will be supportive of what you're trying to do. And then make a list. Make a list of the things that you can potentially see in the future and try to envision yourself achieving that list. And when you're feeling down, come back to that list. Okay? Final thing I want to go over is the reference of most of this information came from Spencer Greenberg, who is a researcher who studies habits. They've put all of these tools, they tested them against others, they tested them against themselves, thousands of data points that have led them to these simple action steps which can ensure your habit creation. And you can find more tools. This website is fantastic, clearthinking.org. And if you go on there, there's a bunch of things that you can, it talks about value creation, how you determine values, or how you help to, if you identify what your values are, then that can help to create a habit that's going to be in line with those values. And then the other thing it does, it helps you to create resources on how to successfully integrate new habits into your life. So play around on the website there. If you have any questions, definitely do bring it up at your next adjustment, or drop an email, or reach out to us on our social medias. We're definitely, this to me is the cornerstone of the success of anything that you're doing. If it's a program like chiropractic adjustments, that is more or less establishing a new habit. And once you get adjusted, you start feeling better, you can stack more positive habits on top of that. If it's something about diet, exercise, sleep, positive mental health habits, all of this can be helped by looking at that clearthinking.org. So, with that, it concludes the content for today's workshop. I'm happy to be able to bring this information to you and hope that you found it useful, and we look forward to seeing you at future workshops, either virtually here, live on YouTube, or we do our in-office workshops as well, which are more hands-on. A lot of times we're working through specifics with either exercise or stretches or anything that has to do with spinal hygiene or overall health and wellness. with that, I'll open it up to questions. If you do have questions, you can type in the chat box there, and I'll do my best to get to those. I do want to leave up this information here for the references. Spencer Greenberg also has a podcast, which you can find it. You can just type in Spencer Greenberg either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Some really great content. Yes. So with that, I thank you. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to close off today so you can all get about your day and hopefully get a little bit of one step closer towards integrating a new habit into your life. I appreciate your time today. Look forward to seeing you out and about or here at Life Chiropractic Centre. Have a great day.